Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Spotlight, which is brought to you by the Georgetown branch of the NAACP, where we're here to educate, motivate, and activate. We have some really important information to share with you. One being our upcoming Freedom Fund banquet, which is going to be a Spotlight award ceremony. We want to share some information with you about that and other community happenings. So if you would go ahead and hit the like button, go ahead, and if you're looking at us on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you're always on point whenever we go live. Stay tuned. Thank you all for joining. We're going to go ahead and jump straight to it and bring on President Deontay Winchester. Good morning.
Good afternoon. How are you today, my sister?
Doing well, thank you. And finally, Mr. Marvin Neal, who is the third VP for the state conference NAACP. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Ebony. Good afternoon, Deontay. President Winchester and First Vice President Ebony Hughes.
Well, goodness, we are so happy to have you on. And for those of you who are watching, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Go ahead and share this to your page, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're watching us from Facebook. But let me go ahead and jump straight into it. We're having a Freedom Fund banquet. This is the first one that we've had in 3 years because of COVID and us just doing other things in the community. So we're excited about having the first one in 3 years, and we're going to be recognizing people who have done so much work in the community, whether they're in the NAACP or not, community members that have done so much work working with us together. And that's what makes us stronger. Deontay, you want to share the
Well,
information about the banquet?
I
It's
tell
really
you
not
what,
a. Mhm.
I am excited about this one because it's going to be a little different than anything we've ever done before. I don't think there's ever been anything in Georgetown like this. We're doing sort of a red carpet type event. We will have individuals taking photographs when you walk across the red carpet, and then you go ahead and you enter the venue, which will be Howard Auditorium. And in there we will conduct the actual awards ceremony. Um, Shortly thereafter, after everyone's been given their awards, we will have what we're calling the after party. Right there in another location at Howard, and we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna celebrate those who were awarded, and we're just gonna have a good time because we made it. We made it through COVID. We made it through the tough times that have been upon us over the past 2 to 3 years. With all of this police brutality and everything else that's going on, there's been a lot of things going on, and the mere fact that we're still here and we're still part of the number is enough to celebrate. And all that can and all that will, please join us January 28th, Howard Auditorium, for our first annual Spotlight Awards. $50 tickets. Um, Donations will go to the efforts that we're ongoing, that we have ongoing, to further social justice, economic justice, and everything else right here in Georgetown. So if you need tickets, um, you can come down in person at 1001 Front Street, the back entrance. Make sure you use the back entrance. Additionally, you can give us a call at 843-790-4075. Thank you so much. You on mute there, Ebony.
Well, thank you. I guess you can't hear me if I don't take it off mute. Please go onto our Facebook page. That way you're going to be able to share this because we're going to have this same flyer up on there, giving you all the information that you're going to need. Just remember, it's the 28th. It's the 28th at 6 o'clock. We're gonna have DJ Rock. He's gonna be out there, and we just really gonna have a good time. I can't wait. This is like the one only time in forever and a day we can just let our hair down and just celebrate because we have accomplished so much. My goodness, we need to do like a recap of everything that's happened in 3 years.
Trying to tell you. And look at, I got my suit together already. You already know how I do it. I'm camera ready.
That's right. That is right. I'm excited. Over the past 3 years, I can't even talk about all the things that we've done, and we need to really think about doing one of those. I mean, from redistricting to COVID efforts to what else, Deontay?
Oh man, just COVID efforts in itself was a large undertaking, going door to door, organizing the vouchers for individuals who needed the vaccinations in the communities that were hard to get to, and having the individuals actually deliver the vaccinations to the people. It was a lot going on there. We partnered with a lot of good organizations, Tylen's Health, MUSC, Club 142, and so many others. I don't want to go down naming names because I know I'm gonna forget somebody, but all of our community partners, we appreciate you. Thank you for all that you do.
Absolutely. So here's the thing. Just keep in mind that you can come by the office, but you can also get tickets from any executive committee member that you see. And there's so many of us that you can talk to. You'll see it all over Facebook. Matter of fact, Mr. Neal, we got you back now. So you can just make sure you get your tickets. And when you get yours, make sure you bring somebody with you.
Ebony, the tickets is running scarce. So if they're going to get tickets, I advise them to get it early on because this is really going to be an excellent program, Spotlight Awards. And the interesting thing is, you know, I was sitting back today at the church in Mount Sinai, and just a reflection of people, you know, and what we are dealing with right now. Even tomorrow at the Dome at the State House here, it's a reflection of the things that we continue to push for. And also, you know, just recently in the news, when you're looking at consistent attacks with anti-Semitism and racism consistently still within our community, our immediate community also, right there in Georgetown. So this is really a time of the year that you start to build again for what's to come. You know, because tomorrow, you know, our theme tomorrow at the state conference at the King's Day at the Dome tomorrow, our theme is if it happened once, it can happen again. And it's so strong, even from a biblical standpoint. You know, when you look at it, you're talking a lot about, you know, nothing new under the sun, you know, and God talked about that. So it's nothing new that's going on. It's just that we have to prepare ourselves for what's to come. You know, just reflecting from W.B. Du Bois, and he talked about, you know, it's not the work that we done yesterday. That's good preparation, good foundation. And it's not the work that we are dealing with tomorrow. It's what we do today. Our fight is today. It's a today fight. So never stop fighting. That's what he's trying to say within that quote that he had there. So.
Yep, absolutely. Matter of fact, you segue into the next thing we were actually going to announce. The state conference. We want you all to, and it's not too late. Just come on, join us for the annual King Day at the Dome. It's a rally, January the 16th. That is tomorrow, Monday, January the 16th. If you can't go, donate, because all the funds that you donate go to supporting the community, whether they are members or not. And that's the thing people really don't think about. You know, we just help the community, period.
Yeah, and Ebony, can I say something on that rally tomorrow?
Sure.
The King's Day rally tomorrow.
Well, the King's Day rally is tomorrow.
Yes, we're going to start with the service, at one of the churches here in Columbia. But we will be at the State House at 10 o'clock a.m. following the march. And we have Benny Thompson, the chairman of the January 6th committee. That he will be our guest speaker tomorrow, which is awesome. And really a great program that's laid out. I'm trying to dig it up here, but I just made it up here a minute ago. So I'm in my vehicle right now at the State House, at the state NAACP office. But yes, our I get you the address by the time the end of the program. But we're starting at a church at 8:30.
So,
Mr.
Mr.
Neal,
Neal,
those who are driving in, would it make more sense to park at the church or at the State House?
Well, that's optional to the individual based on their situation. Because some people, they only have minimum transportation for those that's impaired and with wheelchairs and stuff like that. So on Grievous Street, get there a little early if you're just coming to the State House. But there will be a service starting off in the morning, we march about a mile from there
Mr.
to
Neal?
the State House. Yes.
Yes, sir. It's right here on the flyer. It's the prayer service is at 8 o'clock in the morning at Zion Baptist Church. That's 801 Washington Street.
Correct. Thank you, Ebony. And I'm scrambling. I'm getting old, so I appreciate that. That's why we have young people like you and Deontay just moving things forward. And I don't want to get ran over, so I'm out of your way. But it's going to be an awesome service tomorrow. I encourage everyone to come, especially bring our children and our NAACP units, especially our executive committee. And I know Georgetown is bringing up, a great amount tomorrow and stuff, which is great and stuff. And we encourage more to come, and the other branches also. So I know President Murphy would be glad to see all of us because we have done some great work and there's greater work to be done, and the key is voting and voting rights, what we continue to fight for that gives us the strength in our community. But the end game is to vote. It's all about the vote, and the Black vote is what matters.
Can you just explain, Mr. Neal? You mentioned a good point. People always say vote, 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 vote. And some of us understand the reasons of why we should vote, and others don't. Some don't see the value of voting, not realizing that you give your rights away when you don't vote. And voting is an action. Choosing not to vote means that you made a choice. You have to think of it that way. If you have the right to vote, you need to exercise it. But Mr. Neal, when you say the Black vote matters, tell us historically what that means and why that's so relevant about the Black vote, particularly.
Well, the relevancy, we could segue into just the redistricting that we just went through with the first district and just in Georgetown itself from just coming out of the census and going into redistricting and reappropriation of districts and stuff of that nature. Just in Georgetown, we had to fight for that third district that we were about to give up because we are comfortable with what was coming back from the council. And thanks to the ACLU and the NAACP, those partners, the LDF and all them, that we pushed and we got that third district back in Georgetown, at least at 48% Black voting age population. That gives us opportunity for equal representation. And putting it another way, the court, just in the first district, they unanimously ruled that South Carolina enacted Congressional District 1 illegally. They removed 62% of the Black vote in Charleston County. And that's the first district where Nancy Mace ran. So imagine that 62% of the Black vote move out of an area to give them the opportunity to gerrymander. That's what it boiled down to. And that's what we were fighting for. So people have to understand, if your vote is so important for them to gerrymander and move it, then that tells you is your vote that everyone is chasing. That's why it's so important to vote, and that's why your vote matters, because it gives you representation no matter what. One man, one vote is what we go with. But the representation is necessary, because your strength comes from representation, redistricting, and the district where you sit. That's why unfair gerrymandering weakens community of power by denying certain groups the ability to choose candidates of their choice to fight for the needs of the community: housing, education, parks and recreation. You know, all those things that helps us live a affordable life. You know what I'm saying? And our tax money, appropriating our tax money properly, all those things matters in the vote. Just look at Georgetown right now. You know, everybody's fighting for the West End. Even the West End is fighting for the West End, and they live there. Those that's coming in are fighting for it to have it, so they have a new place to live. They're leaving where they are. And it's happening not only here, Greenville, it's happening also. Just in the news this weekend. Greenville is being attacked right now with gerrymandering. Same identical situation that's happening in Georgetown. So that's what we have to be careful with.
I would submit that the black vote has always been the swing vote. Because if we show up in numbers, by and large, whoever we support wins easily. So that's why they try so hard to stop us from exercising our right to vote. Because when we show up, when we vote, when we exercise that right, we win every time.
Deontay, you hit it on the head. And and a lot of times we say, well, we don't stand a chance because we only have certain percentage in voting. But that's why you stand a chance, because you own that percentage. You own that percentage. And someone who's running for office is going to come after that percentage that you own, because it makes the difference. That gives you leverage to your community. And it only comes during election season. It's the process of accounting at the state level population and changes across the county to draw new district maps from the federal level, such as the Congress, to the local level, which makes an impact on how funding is distributed. And listen to this: healthcare, schools, roads, and other public resources. All those things are valuable to you. That's why your vote, and no matter how much percentage you have, it matters, because somebody wants that percentage to win. So whoever you put in your vote, the hands that you put in for, you get to hold them accountable to that. And color has nothing to do with that. It has everything to what they do once they get into the positions.
That is exactly correct. And really, Mr. Neal, you brought up a good point. Right now in Georgetown specifically, and we do our comprehensive plan so much differently than what other areas do. Right now, that's actually on the table. So for those of you who don't understand or know, our county comprehensive plan is in progress. You can go to the Georgetown County website to find out exactly what's going on with the county comprehensive plan. And just so you know, the county planning department and your county council members need your continued attention and input to assure the proper planning for the future. Because like you said all before, they've run out of land to develop over on the neck. So what do they want to do? They're not satisfied till they go on and start. It's gerrymandering, but then it's also having everything to do with developers and them putting things where they want. And we have to be very watchful, because many times that goes at the expense of natives, those that live in underserved areas. It increases taxes, which that happens over time, but then we are really growing at a rate faster than Las Vegas at this point, in one of the highest areas that people are moving into. So what does that mean for the people who have lived here all of their lives?
You know, what that means for the people that lived here, Ebony, and it's almost in past tense when it comes down to looking at what we have done as a Black community. We have failed to maintain what our ancestors fought for. I mean, sweat, blood, and tears, losing homes right in the community where it's still affordable. You know, family members now, they're living in the homes of family members that died. The homes are paid for and they still can't afford the home, the taxes and stuff of that nature. So, and that's how they're being pushed out. They're a targeted population. So we have to continue to find ways to keep families in their home, whether it's buying back, renovate, lease to own, where it becomes affordable to them again. And we encourage all families, Black families, to come back home and make sure they care for the properties and those gifts and blessings that they've received from ancestors that have sweated and died for that purpose. So that's what we have to continue to do, Ebony. And some of that is going on, but not enough. We encourage the churches, especially the churches, to get involved. Buy the property from your church members that's about to get put out of their property, help renovate it, make it affordable to them, and lease it back to them until they pay for it. Then they own the property again at an affordable rate. And that's how we build and continue to hold on to those blessings that we have received from our ancestors. It's shameful that we continue to lose property because of those reasons. Not paying taxes, heirs property, families not getting along. We have to start getting along.
That's right. I completely agree. And this affects people, but keep in mind, if you look here, what we're sharing with the county website, you're going to see the different elements that are part of the comprehensive plan. They have even the so-called cultural references element. I don't think they're paying much attention to the cultural side of it, because in what they do, I don't see where they address culture, but they do have a cultural resource element. They have a housing element. They have a natural resources element, a transportation element. We don't really have proper public transportation in our county, but here you see that they have drafted up a transportation element, and right above there, natural, housing, cultural. But it's one thing to have a plan, because they had a plan back in 2010, but I have seen where they haven't even followed the comprehensive plan. What they're hoping is that they draft up these plans and they hope that people forget what the plan is supposed to be. That's why you need to be at all these county council meetings as well as city, whether you think it affects you or not. And not just to say anything, you need to be present at these meetings, because many times just your sheer presence hold them more accountable, whether you say anything or not.
Yeah, Ebony, and your presence is your voice sometimes, because it makes them rethink what they're about to do, especially those that represent you. And it tells you a story when they sit there and watch things happen to their community that they represent, and we continue to raise our hand or go into the ballot booth and vote for them again. And when you was talking about the comprehensive plan, one thing we have to be careful with, Ebony, it's not just what we're trying to put in there right now, it's the future. This is a 10-year, review and 5-year element that's going to decide on how you live and what comes in your community the next 10 years. But the key is accountability. Like you said, we got to hold them accountable once we put it into place. But the thing is, it's important that you tell people what you want, because if they're telling you what you're going to get, it values them most of the time and not you. Number two, we have to look down the road, because electric stations and stuff like that is coming in. So those things are on the table, and we have to make sure that the echo part of it supports our community also and help build value in our community. So if you have property in your community, make sure that transportation plan, which is part of electric and gas vehicle station, make sure you let them know, hey, we have property over here too, commercial property here. They could put some stations here. If that's going to be the future, and that's asset to your community.
Absolutely correct. Keep in mind what we see going on as far as issues in the community. It affects us all. Okay, everything's connected, And most of the time when you see different things in the schools, when it comes down to seeing things going on in our everyday life, is usually affected by local politics, because they normally allow local politics to govern how those things are going to actually operate. And so this is where you see a whole bunch of systematic issues. Go ahead, Deontay.
This is an issue we can get into a whole nother day. This is a whole nother topic, I know. But when we talk about heirs property and building back our communities, and we see all of these houses, especially in the West End, that are, to be completely honest with you, just run down and looking abandoned. You know what that tells me? That tells me that nobody cared about that house. That tells me that when Big Mama was alive and things started happening in that house, nobody cared to help. So now when things get out of hand and the property is in the hands of the next generation, it's too much. We should help with these things when they arise. If Big Mama need a floor, why everybody can't come together and help with that floor? And then these things wouldn't pile up on us and we won't have these issues 10 years down the line. It won't be a floor and a roof and the foundation that needs to be done. And that's when we get these issues and we can't take care of it. And we end up with these messed up houses in our communities. Let's take care of our own. Our people work so hard to achieve what they have for us to let it get run down in their old age. It makes no sense to me.
You're right, Deontay. And that's why I was headed at, by buying back our property, renovating it, restoring it, whatever we need to do. Sometimes it takes a lot, sometimes it don't. Sometimes just to get the effort of walking next door and say, what's going on and why is your property up for tax sales? And I don't know about it as your neighbor. And I've seen that happen also. Valuable property sold on the first Monday of the month, right at the courthouse in Georgetown.
Yeah.
And the next door neighbor did not even know that the neighbor was having a problem with the property. That's not the way we should be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Next thing you got a new neighbor that's looking around the neighborhood to buy more property to bring in new neighbors. And they're pushing you back out the door. Here you are back out renting somewhere where it's not affordable, which creates another poverty index that we are trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Just look at what happened with the United Way SC Stay Housing grant program that we just got through with in December on the 16th. Just look what happened. How many people came to right there in Georgetown? The second phase was over 400 and some people that we served. I mean, and these weren't people that was sitting at home. These were people that was trying to afford something, within the guidelines of what their income was and still could not handle it. So it's going to come again. You know what I'm saying? Because just like the theme for the state conference, if it happened once, it will happen again. But we have to make the change in what's going on. We have to come up and make the change and change those conditions on how we fight. With minimum wage, fighting for minimum wage, $18 an hour. It was $7.25 at the federal level. How could you live off that? Yeah. We fought and got the school district up to what, $13 an hour. The county government now is up to $11 an hour. And that just came from us fighting the school district. I guess they got a wake up call and said, well, we're going to $11, which is nothing. You know what I'm saying? So those are the fights that we have to continue to make sure that we are also inclusive to what's going on when the funding is being distributed. If you look at the top, based on the poverty level of the community, it just don't balance out. You got people at the top making $200 some thousand a year, $150,000, $200,000 a year, and in the same government or in the same districts, the bottom is down there making $10, $11 an hour after 15 years on the job.
And then you ask the ones at the top what minimum wage is, they can't even tell you. Can't
even say it. And that came out at the school district when we was battling for the minimum wage there. Because the question was asked by the school board member, Dr. Lance, the chairman. He said, well, why can't we get the $15 an hour? And the person that handles the finance and budget for the school district said, we just never thought about it. So what they're saying, they never thought about you. They never thought about anyone other than padding the pockets of their buddies and those that they manipulate and bring in, and within the the nepotism that's going on there and everywhere else, you know, padding the way for their families and friends. You know, you call a family reunion right there at these districts and offices and stuff in county government where we serve city government, all this stuff. You are calling. You could call a family union right in there. It might be 3 families that shows up because that's pretty much who handles it at the top.
And you know, one more thing we got to do is remove that stigma associated with affordable housing. When we talk affordable housing, we're not talking about individuals who are sitting on their hands waiting on the government. We're talking about working class people who just aren't making enough wages to afford a decent place to live. We're talking about educators. We're talking about firemen. We're talking about sheriff's department employees. We're talking about your everyday working people who just can't survive because they just can't make a living wage and keep up with inflation. That's affordable housing. We're not talking about the projects, okay? Do not associate affordable housing with individuals who are going to increase crime rates, anything of that nature. That's not what we are talking about. So let's remove that stigma and know what we say when we mean when we say affordable housing, based on your rate of income, whatever that may be. That's what affordable housing is.
And Deontay, if you look at it, just look at who presented at the county council when they were fighting for a wage increase. The county sheriff, Carter Weaver, stood there, and he really put it on the floor and fought for his people to get a raise, and they got it. Michelle Arauco at the county environmental services stood on the floor as the manager of the department that she manages and fought for her people to get a raise, and they got it. You have to get people in there that will fight for the folks, you know, that works under them. And it's shameful that those were the only 2 other than the NAACP. You know, it's shameful. But you don't hear the voice of no one else in these positions and these people make good money, Michelle Morocco and Carter Weaver and all of these folks, you know, I'm pretty sure they're close to 6 figures. But one thing, they did not forget who's working for them and how they got there and how they got to where they are. You have to make sure that you're fighting for those folks. You know what I'm saying? And you will be taken care of.
Yeah. So scared that if they increase the wages at the bottom, that they won't be able to get a raise.
And that's what it's all about.
Yep.
That is right. Thank you all for joining today's Spotlight, brought to you by the Georgetown Branch NAACP, where we're here to educate, motivate, and activate. Please post your questions or comments. We want to hear from you. That's the only way that we can do things. We got to pull together because we are stronger together. Right now, we're talking about a living wage and how it connects to affordable housing right now with Deontay Winchester and Mr. Marvin Neal.
Hey, you have to continue to fight, you know, because the living wage, if you just, over the past 2 months back in November, there's a court case in Georgetown now. But the Wedgefield housing for the landing project, you know, that was denied because of flat out racism, and rallied another minority county councilman to join hands with them. And he came back and can't even explain why he did not vote for it. You know, so it tells a story. Election matters. And who you vote for matters. Because you don't need people that's going to vote out what's going to take care of you. That was a 90-unit affordable housing. It's better than what they have on Wedgefield over there.
Yeah.
You know, just voted out because of flat out racism. We don't want those kind of people living on the streets that our plantation homes are on. That's what it boils down to. Because we want to continue to preserve our plantation mentality. What it boils down to.
Well,
and that's what came out of it, a plantation mentality. When you start saying those people, that's what it boiled down to.
Well, that's
so
what
we're going to continue to fight for that.
That's what I want to know. What they mean by those kind of people, because, you know, when you start talking again, back to what Deontay was saying and how this correlates with what you're saying, Mr. Neal, affordable housing, that's where ignorance Money doesn't make a person smart. Let me just tell you that. And a person having a degree doesn't make them smart either. Because when we started talking about affordable housing, again, we're talking about the very people who they say they're trying to support. Where all the blue people at? You know, they're not being paid enough money to really even stay in the areas that they serve. They have to live someplace else. That affects all these police officers that they don't want on their streets. This is who they're ostracizing as well and don't even realize it. And that's why politics is so very it's an interesting thing that you really need to study for yourself, because a lot of it's politically motivated, but a lot of decisions are made in ignorance. It's sheer ignorance, because I just don't even understand what those kind of people mean when we're talking about teachers, police officers. We're talking about all the people that serve us that may work at our local industries, Walmart and things of that nature. And that's a whole nother story when you start talking about Walmart, because they don't even give most of their people any full-time hours just to keep the company from having to help make sure that they have health care. I mean, this whole thing is all connected. And so I hope that a point is made when it comes down to this county issue of denying affordable housing in the area.
Yeah.
So what are we missing? What other topic were we?
Well, let's discuss the parade on yesterday, the MLK parade that right there in Georgetown.
Yep.
So on yesterday, we actually came together, and shout out to the Howard Alumni Association. They do great things. We met at the district administration office at Beck down there, lined up, and we went down Merriman and ended up over by Howard. And it was a really, really great event. Great for the community. Everybody was out cheering, and we just had a good time, and we met. Nothing violent happened, which is always a good thing. We came together, we had fun, we ate, had some good ribs out there, had some pulled pork out there, But the biggest thing that I want everybody to take away from this is that MLK Day is not just a day off. It's not a day off. It's not a day to go on vacation. MLK Day and the weekend there before is for service. It's for us to do something for our community. It's for us to do something for our neighbors, because this is what Dr. King lived his life and died doing. Service to others. So let's not take this day for granted. Let's take this time, and it doesn't even have to be money. Find somebody that need they yard raked, or find somebody that just need some help in their garage, or do something for somebody. It's a day of service, not a free day off. That's all I got to say about
it. And Deontay, that what it's all about. That makes us stronger together. Just stepping out of that box and just knock on somebody's door and say, why are you wrapped up in that blanket? And why is it any heat in your home? Those type things is crucial, especially in our minority community. This time of the year, it's huge. We have to continue to take care of ourselves, And when I say that, I'm talking as a community and a people. Because if we don't do it for ourselves, nobody is going to do it for us. Like Ebony says consistently, it's not a handout, it's a hand up. That's the parade yesterday. Huge. It's a great thing. But one thing I would like to see, Deontay, for that parade to start on Front Street, come down Front Street, and make sure we wake up that side of the city also, and remind them that, hey, this stuff we have to do together. We should not be separating ourselves because of what they want or they say. We have to make sure that we understand that's our tax dollars on the other side also.
Break that down a little bit. What's the significance of starting on Front Street and coming on down?
Well, one of the significance is, Deontay, that's from whence we came. We built Georgetown.
Yeah.
We saved America with the rice crops from Georgetown. Okay? Georgetown. East Bay Park. You see the marsh and everything over there. We have to be careful how we give away our history, because we allow people to come in and dictate what our culture should look like based on where they came from, not from where they are. That's what we have to be careful with comprehensive plan and stuff of that nature. You know, Front Street was we were like the Black Wall Street in Oklahoma. It didn't get burnt down. It get gentrified to the point, and some of it did get burnt down. Barbershops and other stuff right on Front Street in Georgetown. Trying to push people out. I remember my father's first cousin. I remember they was pushing for him to give up his barbershop there on King Street, which is on right off of Front Street in Georgetown. So it's the significance is we can't allow people to dictate where we live based on racial agenda that sits at the table with us and stuff. So those are things that we have to be careful with. And that's why it's significant. That clock and everything there, that's the time of day when people were being hung on the right there on Meeting Street. Call it Meeting Street. They met there for a reason. You know, and we need to understand the significance of where we live and what people are trying to take away from us. Because if they can push us out of Georgetown won't look like the historical Georgetown and where things really happen, the bedrock of slavery in America, where people built America from. Georgetown was a part of that history. One of the first oldest newspaper in the state was Georgetown Times. That's gone. You have to push and just get that back impartial. Have no news outlet for Georgetown because of flat out racism. That's what it boils down to. So it's a lot of significance in why we should take that parade down Front Street. You know,
I mean, look at the clock. Look at all those beautiful buildings. It just didn't pop up there magically. They were built
by Black people, the hands of Black people.
Exactly. Not only that, I mean, look at the clock. That's where they had the auctions.
Yeah.
To sell Blacks into the area. I mean, really have to think about this. So why wouldn't we have the parade down that very street? And the parade can go over into the West End as well.
Exactly. Tie both of them in. Leave none out. You know, and that's a conversation I guess we could have. I'm not saying, run and change something, but I think it's a conversation that's need to be had.
I agree. Well, y'all just remember, it's not too late to go ahead and come on out to the MLK event in Columbia tomorrow. It'll start at 8:00 in the morning with prayer. The name of the church is, Zion Baptist Church. That's on 801 Washington Street, Columbia, South Carolina, 29202. Come on now out. If not, you can certainly donate. We will appreciate that as well.
And last but least, find somewhere to go tomorrow and celebrate. Just the dream, not only the dream, the reality of the dream. Find some place and go and celebrate. So you can remind yourself, why you need to fight. Because it's significant what we are dealing with. You shouldn't have to leave your home to build a home. And you should not have to leave your job to go get another job to afford to live. Those are the things that are significant. Education should be not partial, but balance. It's significant. One school should get the same as other schools.
That's it.
So those are the things that matters. Affordable housing is affordable housing. So the income needs to line up with it.
Yeah. Celebrate. Have fun. Let's celebrate Dr. King and his accomplishments. Let's celebrate the dream, as Mr. Neal said. But let's also remember that we're not there yet.
And also remember, if it happened once, it can happen again.
Yep. We're a lot closer than we were on April 4th, 1968 when Dr. King was assassinated, but we still a mighty far away from where we need to be. We appreciate your viewership. Don't forget, January 28th, banquet. Be there. Dressed to impress. We love you all. Continue to love yourselves. We'll see you later.
All right, and we're going to end this with I Have a Dream. Enjoy your day.
Pleasure to present to you Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. Five score years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, my country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when it happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last,